Joining me on the show is Betty Brogaard. Betty is a twice now published author. Her first book was Dare to Think for Yourself. She was kind enough to send me a copy, or I'll hold it up for the camera. She was kind enough to send me a copy through the mail, and I'm about a third of the way through it. Her second book, which has just been released, is The Homemade Atheist. Welcome to the show, Betty. I hope you're having a good day.
Thank you. I am. It's nice of you to have me.
You know, both you and I come from our atheism and our belief about religion from somewhat the same place. I was raised in the church. I went to a Lutheran day school for a number of years. You were raised in the church, as it were, or your mother made you go to what you now describe as a cultish church. And
yes.
You were involved in that church for a number of years. Do you think that it's easier for people who are never exposed to religion to have an atheistic belief as opposed to people such as you and I who were indeed raised in the church?
Yes, I do, because I think once you've been indoctrinated into a religion, you have a built-in guard against being deceived.
Brainwashed is what some people call it. Noted atheist Richard Dawkins puts in one of his books, I think he puts it rather well, and that is that he says it's like a computer program. A computer virus works so well because it tells the computer anything that says that I am a virus, you're going to want to disregard. And religion, in fact, the Bible says the same thing. People are going to come to you who say that this is not God, this is not the right way to think, but you're going to want to reject those people because they're from the devil. Were you warned about that same kind of thing when you were a member of organized religion?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't really. The first time I was ever a member of a church was the Worldwide Church of God. And I went to a Baptist Sunday school and church my parents sent me, but I wasn't a member of any church, not really, until I became snagged by the Worldwide Church of God.
What finally caused you to fall away from that church? Because I understand that's a very, or at least at the time, that was a very charismatic church. Very powerful in terms of brainwashing or indoctrination. They might go farther than what you describe as Orthodox churches. What finally caused you to fall away from the Worldwide Church of God?
Well, there came an upheaval in the organization, became an upheaval, and many of the doctrines of the church were being challenged by other ministers. And my husband, especially, and I, along with him, decided to prove them wrong. And instead, we found out that they were right and we were wrong. And so, also, there was a lot of rumors going on about the evil lifestyles that some of the top ministers were participating in. There was a lot of adultery and things like that going on, and there was greed, and it was just a bombardment of things that caused us to check it out. And pretty soon,
I don't want to dwell on that, but I'll leave you, or I'll ask you one final point. You see a lot of the televangelists, I'm sure, on TV now, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there are some quite well-known ones. Do you think that televangelism and the money that's involved and the money that is raised from those organizations make those organizations more prone to that kind of pitfall as opposed to the Orthodox Lutheran Church or Baptist Church or Presbyterian Church down the street?
Well, there are a lot of evils in all church organizations as far as I'm concerned. But yes, I think the adulation, the almost devotion, unequivocal devotion that people have of the ministers, the televangelists, plays a big role in their downfall or their evil doing.
Do you consider yourself a rationalist or a realist or an atheist? When people meet Betty Brogaard for the first time and they get involved in a discussion of philosophy, how do you describe yourself to a perfect stranger?
Well, if I'm asked, I would have to say that I'm a, let's see, a rational, atheistic, humanistic freethinker.
Now, people in the community where you live, and I'm not going to say where you live, but people in the community where you live, do they realize that you are one of the more outspoken or at least published atheists in their midst, and what kind of reaction do you get from them?
Actually, I usually get a pretty good reaction. I don't know what they think, but I can only go by what they say. They think that I'm entitled to my opinion. They don't agree with me, but I don't really get any flack from anybody except anonymously. I've had letters written to me and told me that I was going to wind up in hell, and recently a man told me that I was a tool of the devil after he had looked at my book. I don't know that he really read it, my first book, the one that you have, and I said, well, and he's a very good friend. He was a friend of my husband's. And I said, well, I don't even believe in the devil, so I don't know that I'm a tool of something I don't believe in. And that's all he said about it. He just turned and walked away then.
Speaking of tools of the devil, I was talking with Dr. Stephen Ewell the other night.
Yes.
He's a former Catholic priest turned psychologist turned atheist who devoted, as I understand it, a great deal of his psychology profession to trying to right the wrongs that he had done as a priest. He felt somewhat guilty about the fact that he stood in the pulpit on Sunday morning and preached guilt and sin and absolution from sin, and impacted people's lives maybe in a negative way. And so as a way to right that, he had become a psychologist. One of the things that Dr. Ewell said was that indoctrinating children or brainwashing children should almost be regarded as a crime. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't really feel qualified to answer that question in that I've never had children. My husband and I were married for over 40 years and we just never had children. But I don't think I would I may disagree with Dr. Ewell in this way, but I don't think I would prohibit my children from going to church if they asked if they could, because we are such a pluralistic society here in the United States. And they're going to be bombarded with people of religion, and they're going to try to be converted by them. And what I would do is I would try to educate, but not indoctrinate. And if my children wanted to go to church, as I said, I would allow that, depending on, what it was really, if it was a legitimate church and everything. But when they got home, I would want to know what they learned, what they felt about it, and then I would tell them my opinion. But I wouldn't say that you have to believe the way I do. You must make up your own mind, just like I had to do. Frankly, some good does come from religion. And I think that some people are so insecure about their own ability to think for themselves, you might say, using the title of my first book, okay, that it's the only thing that will keep them moral or good people. I don't know the word to say, but if that's what is going to keep them law-abiding citizens and nice people, I would say go for it.
Okay.
I'm just not.
Fair enough.